Okay, so in this first video, I'm just going to go through the basic setup of Lightroom and the Develop module to just kind of cover things in a little bit more detail and go a little slower so that you guys have this as a resource. One of the first things that I think would be helpful for you would be to set up your Lightroom Develop module area in a way that allows you to just access the tools that you need the most. And so what you can do is you can actually hide things like this panel along the top that gives you the module options and some of this information here which has your history and navigation. If you don't need this as you're working, you can compress that by clicking these small little arrows, and that will move them over and hide them. And if you want to bring them back, you just click on that little triangle again to bring that information back. The other thing that could be really helpful for if you are using the Develop module and you want to keep things really clean and organized is actually to use what's called solo mode, so that these panels over on the right hand side, such as basics and tone curve and all of these other options, only show up one at a time, so that when you open one panel, the other one closes. And this is especially helpful if you're going to be going back and forth between the basics panel and the effects panel and things like that. So to do that, you would hold down the Control button on your keyboard and click on this dark gray area, and it will bring up an option menu here, and make sure that solo mode is selected. And again, that will just kind of help to keep things a little bit more organized. The first thing is that, of course, when you're working with an image, you want to make sure that you're doing your global adjustments on your image before you do anything selectively or before you take the image into Photoshop. And one of the things that I like to do before I even do the basic adjustments is I like to go under the lens corrections option, and underneath profile, make sure that profile is selected. I like to check remove chromatic aberration and enable profile corrections. And these two things will, the top one removes those strange little color artifacts that you oftentimes get mostly in landscape images, where, for example, the edge of a tree will meet the sky and it kind of can't quite resolve the difference between the green and the blue. And so it kind of cleans up some of those edges automatically for you. I don't actually think there would be very many aberrations in this particular image, but it doesn't hurt to check it because it's just going to clean up any strange noise, color noise in the image. And then enabling profile corrections helps to kind of affect any distortion that you get from the lens that you're using, so it can read the profile of your lens and it can correct for that. And one of the things that you'll notice on my sample image is that it kind of shifts the very corners out a little bit, and then it also reduces the effect of the vignetting, which is the darkening around the edge that you would get from the particular lens that we're using. And you will see, depending on the lens that you're using and depending on the focal length that you're using, you will notice sometimes more correction in there than others. So that is something that I sometimes like to start with before I move into my basics panel.